Okay, welcome back to the Nimitz build. Where we last left off, we were building the E2C Hawkeyes, and I just finished the last of those two. And, well, when I say finished, I mean ready for paint. The propellers will go on after paint, and the dish on top will go on after paint. And remember, the Nimitz kit comes with one. My friend bought a pack of 6, so I did 4 of them with the wings out like this, and I did 3 of them with the wings folded, which I think looks kind of cool. And remember, these definitely need the lead weight in the front. So before you glue the fuselage halves together, put a few pieces of solder or something in the front half, or else it's going to sit back on its tail. So again, we're ready to start painting the different aircraft. And these, the Hawkeyes, and if you don't remember from last time, my friend also bought a pack of FA-18 Super Hornets. So there's 6 of those. So those two, the Super Hornets and the Hawkeyes, they just get painted gray. Top and bottom is gray, but all the other aircraft, the bottoms are white, the tops are gray. So I'm going to do the easy ones first, I think. I'm going to do the Hawkeyes and the Super Hornets first, because they just get gray. Now, something I've been thinking about is the canopies, and I have some liquid mask, and my plan was to paint the canopies with liquid mask, and then after I paint it, peel it off. So I started applying some liquid mask, and you're not going to be able to see it. But on the Hawkeyes, there's little square windows on top, and then windows around the side here. So trying to put the liquid mask on those tiny little square windows is almost impossible. I was using these little miniature Q-tips, trying to dot it on there. I was able to do it, but I'm not sure how well it's going to turn out. And while I was doing that, I was thinking it might just be easier to paint it all gray and then just go in and just scrape away the paint that's over the windows. I'll paint 2 of them first. One with the liquid mask, I'll peel off. The other one, I'll just scrape the paint away and see which way is easier. Now, other aircraft, like these, I think for these it would be easier to cover the canopy with liquid mask. I've not done it yet, but I think that's what I'll do with ones that have curvious canopies. I think the liquid mask will be better on those. Same thing with with these. I think that would be easier with the liquid mask on those maybe. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm just going to airbrush some of these with the gray and just see how it goes. I'll come back and show you after I get them painted. So see you back in just a minute. Okay, so I started painting some of them. First off, I just started by painting the bottom of all of those dishes that go on the Hawkeyes. Remember I said I'd paint the bottoms of those first, and then I would attach them to here. So those are painted on the bottoms. I still have to paint the tops. Basically, I just stuck them to a stick with some tape on it. And then, before I get too carried away with painting everything, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do the canopies. And so, for example, I did one of the Super Hornets, and I covered the canopy with the liquid mask. I don't remember if I showed that before, but I basically just used one of those little miniature cotton swab things to carefully just paint the liquid mask onto the canopy, and then let that dry. And then I just painted it with the gray. And I don't want to peel the liquid mask off yet, because I just realized I'm going to have to paint that area there red, because they don't give you the decals for that. When you take a look at the box, they give you the decals for the side here, and the detail here, and here and here. And they give you the decals for the diamonds here, but they don't give you the red that goes on the top. So there's all the decals that come in the kit here. So again, you get all of those, but they don't give you that decal for the top. So I'm going to have to paint that, and hopefully it matches the red of the decals here. So I got to figure out how to mask that off and paint that, and it's right up against the canopy. So I don't want to peel the liquid mask off first because that'll mask that part of it. So I only need to tape around here and around here, airbrush the red, then I could pull the liquid mask off. So I'm going to have to figure out the best way to mask that area. Because again, there's not a lot of room to get tape in here. I'm probably, because if you notice, this is my skinniest masking tape. I'm going to have to slice that in half to get in there to mask that off. Now what I did was I basically just held it like that and then airbrushed the bottom. And I took a cup and put tape on it, sticky side up, so I could then just stick that down and that would hold it while I airbrush the top. I did the same thing for these. I did a few of the Hawkeyes, so again, I just painted the bottom first. Yeah, that was nice. The paint's dry. I basically, here's one that's not painted. I held it like that and then airbrushed the whole bottom. And then I just stuck it to the cup with the paint, with the tape sticky side up. And then I could airbrush the whole top and the sides and all of that. Now these, I'm thinking, I can go ahead and see how the liquid mask worked. Now some of these I did liquid mask, and one of them I didn't, because what I want to try to do is just go in and just scrape the paint off of the windows for these. And plus, I need to figure out which ones I put the liquid mask on and which ones I didn't. Now, I only painted 3 of these. I only wanted to paint 2, but oh well, that's fine. Because I wanted to try one that had the liquid mask and one that didn't. So I only wanted to paint 2 to see which one was easiest, and I got a little carried away and painted 3 of them. And I'm hoping I did the one that had the liquid mask on. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be able to really film it, because to go in there with that blade and scrape the windows clean, I'm going to have to look what I'm doing at one of those, you know. So it's going to be right in front of my face. I don't think I'll be able to really record that. So let me get the windows cleaned up. I'll show you what that looks like and which way I thought was easier. Okay, I thought I would just jump in and kind of show you where I'm at. On the Super Hornets, you can see I've got a bunch of them upside down here. I painted the bottoms gray, and on the tops, I have not painted the tops yet, but I just wanted to show you the blue from the liquid mask that I put on the canopy. So once it's all painted, I can just peel that liquid mask off, then the canopy will still be clear. And I did finish one. This one right here is painted gray top and bottom, and I masked off and painted that part red. Now, the decals for this, if we take a look at that, these are the decals that came with the kit. And I found some red. That's the closest match I have. So it's not exact, but it's going to have to be good enough. That's just a little sample. It's just a dark red. It's an enamel dark red. So I think that'll be okay. And so the next step for these, or for this one, is to go ahead and start putting some of the decals on. That was just... This one was just kind of a practice just to see how the masking and painting would go. So then the next step is to paint the top of those gray and then mask off and paint the red for those. Now, I think I already mentioned this. I don't remember. I just used an X-Acto knife and scraped the paint off for the windows. That was easier than the liquid mask. It was so small, I couldn't get the liquid mask to work very well there. So this one is ready to clear coat and then decal, and then the dish gets glued onto the top. So there's one of those with the wings folded back. Here's one with the wings out, and again, the windshields, the paint just scraped off for the windshields. And then I went ahead and did the others. These I just painted today, so the windshields are still painted, so I'm going to have to go through and scrape off to clean out the windshields there. But all of the Hawkeyes are painted. They just need decaled, cleared and decaled. Now the helicopter, the bottom half is gray, the top half is white. So on that one, I just went ahead and painted the bottom half of that gray. So tomorrow I'll mask that bottom off and then paint the top half white. For the windows, I used masking tape for the flat windows and then liquid mask for the curved on the front. The side ones I'll just scrape off like I did those others. And then all of the others, again, they're white on the bottom and gray on top. So for example, here's one, I just painted the bottom white and the top will be gray later. And that's kind of where I'm at. So here's another one with, again, the bottom white, top still gray. And you can also see here, the blue canopy, that's the liquid mask. So again, once it's all painted, I can just peel that liquid mask off. And as I was applying the liquid mask, I started wondering why I didn't just paint it and then put the canopies on after the fact with crystal clear or canopy glue instead of putting the liquid mask on all of them. And the thing is, doing the liquid mask on all the canopies, that was my plan from the very beginning. Here's one of those with the wings folded up. That was the whole plan from the beginning, was to use the liquid mask and peel it off when I'm done. But again, as I'm applying it, I was thinking, well, that was dumb. I should have just put them on after the fact. Now, and it's just another one again, white on the bottom. I still got to paint the top, of course. These, it was definitely better to put the canopy on first because most of the canopy gets painted. But on the others, the whole canopy is the windscreen, so I didn't have to do it that way. For these, you don't have a choice because the canopy is part of the whole thing. It's not a separate canopy. So you don't have a choice for these. You got to use a liquid mask for those. But again, for the ones like this, I could have just painted the whole thing and put the canopies on last and not done a liquid mask. So yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't think about that till after the fact, but too late now. I'll know better for next time. And again, here's another example. One with the wings folded up. So those sides of the wings are white, the bottom is white. The top of that will be gray. Some of these are going to be a little bit challenging because when I do the gray, I'm going to have to mask off the white. And when you have the wings folded up like that, they're kind of fragile. There's not a lot of gluing surface. So masking off the side and then taking the masking off when I'm done painting is going to be kind of tricky to not break those wingtips off. I can always glue them back on, so it's, not that big a deal, I guess. But anyways, that's where I'm at. I just painted all of this stuff. It's dry to the touch, but not fully cured. So tomorrow, it's basically a lot of masking off so I can paint the other half of each of them. And then after that, I can clear coat and decal. So I'll just come back later when I got more to show you. Okay, just a quick update of where I'm at. The helicopter, the white and gray is painted, and I removed the masking from the windshields. And according to my color painting guide, there's the one window there and a round one here. If you can tell, there's like panel lines for more windows, but again, the painting guide just showed one there and that one here. On the other side, there's then that one on the door, and then those two, and then that one round one here. So I still need to paint the landing gear. I'll do that with hand brush. But this one is pretty much ready for clear coat and then decals, and it'll pretty much be done, minus the rotors, of course. And one thing that I've been doing for the masking, because I was kind of concerned about how I was going to mask some of the smaller areas, I used thin strips of masking tape for the bottom edge, but like around here, basically what I did was I took some Play-Doh and I just kind of smashed the Play-Doh into a block, and I just pressed it down into the Play-Doh, and then just kind of worked the Play-Doh up along where I wanted it to be masked. So this is like pliable masking. Of course, now it's all full of dried paint, but that works pretty well. So anyways, the helicopter is ready for clear coat and decals. I also went ahead and did the Vigilante, this one right here. There's only one of these in the kit. There's only one of these here. Why is that not focusing? And this one was a little tricky to mask off around the wingtips and flaps and elevators and the whole vertical here, and the nose cone is white. Here's what that's looking like. And again, there's liquid mask on the canopy, but of course the bottom is white. Got the gray there. I don't know how much more I'm really going to record because it's all pretty much the same of just masking off the white and painting the gray, sometimes using Play-Doh as masking, and but usually just using really thin strips of tape. I'm using this tape here, but typically what I'll do is I'll have to slice it in really thin slices to get it into some of those areas. Okay, I've been working on decals for quite a while now, so I just wanted to kind of jump in and show you where I'm at. So the first thing I did was just spray everything with a clear coat and then put the decals on. And after the decals go on, I just brush a little of the solvent on, and then a final clear. The final clear will be like a semi-gloss or a semi-flat or whatever. But again, those are done. Those are all done. And so I've been working on those, basically just using the box art as where the decals go. And so as you can see, I got the sides of the verticals, tops and bottoms of the horizontals. And basically what I do is I just cut out all the decals and I just kind of lay them all in there. And those are the intake warnings. And I just have a little container with the water. I just put some paper towel in there, and that way they're not just kind of floating around loose, and that just kind of helps manage the decals better. And once they come loose, pick them up with tweezers and put them in place. And I've done one of those already, and so far that's probably one of the more difficult ones to get in place. So yeah, those are going to take a while. And then just pick the next ones. I don't know what I'll do next. I'll save the ones on the nose for last because I'm actually holding those by the nose as I put them on. But once those are done, then I have those 6 and those 6 left, and that will be it. So I'm almost halfway done. So it's just way too tedious and time consuming to actually show putting them on, because I got to get it right up in front of my face with some magnification. So I don't think I'd really be able to show it very well. But again, it's just cut them out, soak them, put them in place, and then put some solvent on it, some decal set, and then final clear. So I'll get back to you when they're all done and what they look like. Okay, so the aircraft are finally done. And when I say done, I mean they're done enough I could call them done, and it would be fine, but there's probably still just some very minor paint touch-up that I could do. It's one of those things I could probably nitpick this stuff for months and never really be done. But I'm going to call them done for this video because I think this video is plenty long enough. And like I said, they're close enough they could be called done, so we're calling them done. So what we'll do is we'll just go over each one individually and just kind of give you the highlights on how they look and the basic steps of what I did to them. Starting with the Sea King, the only helicopter in the model. And as you can see, it's right here. And remember, we did it to where the rotors are not glued in place so that you could go between these or the ones that are folded back. So again, this simply comes off. Simply, there it is. And so here's the helicopter itself. So with this one, I sprayed the whole thing with the with gray, and then I masked off the bottom basically by pushing it into a block of Play-Doh, and then doing the rest white. We've got the decals in place. Hopefully that's focused okay. We've got the decals in place, and then before I put the decals on, I airbrushed it with a clear gloss. So that the decals would have a better surface to go on. And then I airbrushed it with a flat, not perfectly flat. I took some semi-gloss and some flat and mixed those together. I think the flat was too flat and the semi-gloss was too gloss. So I mixed them together. And so that gives me the finish that I have now, which I think is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that mix, with that color. And that's basically what I did for all of these. I painted the tires and wheels, and for the tail rotor, remember I accidentally broke off the little stub that the tail rotor is supposed to glue on, and I said I was going to drill through and put it on with a pin. Well, I decided to go ahead and make it to where that could just still spin. So I drilled through the tail rotor and put the pin through, super glued into the hole that I drilled. And so now the tail rotor can turn. Not that it needs to. It's kind of pointless to have it do that. And then, like I said, after I sprayed with the kind of flat clear, I went over the hand brush with a high gloss clear and painted the windshields. And so they're nice and clear there. There's the helicopter. The next one we'll take a look at is the Vigilante. There's only one of these in the kit as well. And again, same story. This time I airbrushed the whole thing white, and then I masked off and painted the rest with the gray, and then a gloss coat, and then the decals, and then that mix with the flat and semi-flat, and then hand brushed over the windscreen with the clear, and that's what that one's looking like. And I think this turned out pretty well. As far as the decals go, all of the decals went on kind of okay. I had some problems with some of them wanting to curl up, like those. They would just want to curl up as soon as I took them out of the water. But as you can see, they went on fine. And going over it with the clear really sealed them in place very nicely. So yeah, so there's that one. Next up are the Vikings, the S3A Vikings. There's two of these. They're both pretty much the same. And again, same story with the painting and the decals. And I just went around the windscreen with a hand brush, and they came out okay. I'm fairly pleased with those. Again, there's two of those in a kit, and I did both of those with the wings unfolded. I think I explained earlier that folding the wings up, there just wasn't a lot of gluing surface for that, and I just didn't really like the way they were positioned. So both of those, the wings are unfolded. Next up are the A6 Intruders, and there are three of those in the kit. And again, the process was the same as far as the painting and the decals. I did two with the wings unfolded, one with the wings folded. And if those would focus, just a view of the decals. And again, pretty pleased with how those came out. Again, I had to paint all the wheels and tires, which was, I'm not going to lie, it was not fun. Painting all the wheels and tires. There's 34 airplanes. Each airplane has, well, you know, some have 3 wheels and some have 4, because some of them have 2 nose wheels, while some only has 1 nose wheel. So if your math is as good as mine, you'll know that was a lot of tires to paint. And next up are the Corsairs. These were probably the biggest pain in the butt. because the main gear legs just were extremely difficult to glue in place. They would constantly want to break off. The decals on the tail were really bad about wanting to fold up, trying to put those in place. So yeah, these were probably the most difficult ones for me, anyways, to assemble and paint. But end result is good. I'm kind of proud of those. Next up, we'll take a look at the Phantoms. Phantoms are cool. Here's one with the wings folded up, and view of the tail and the decal on the tail. These were one of the easier ones to put the decals on. Those actually went very well with the decals. Here's one with the wings unfolded, and thankfully somebody left a comment on how the wings actually have a slight tip up when they're unfolded, because I originally put them on completely flat. So thank you for that comment. So again, there's the F4 Phantoms. And again, there's 6 of those and 6 of the Corsairs. Next up, the EA-3B Sky Warriors. And there's 2 of those in the kit. There's one with the wings unfolded and one with the wings folded. And these are probably the largest of the aircraft, so a little bit easier to handle as far as decaling and painting. Now, they were a pain to mask off and paint because you have to mask off around the leading edges and trailing edges on the wings, the horizontal, the verticals. But again, they're a little bit larger compared to the others, so easier to hang on to and handle while you're putting the decals on. Yeah, 2 of those. And then we have the Hawkeyes. Now, the kit only has 1, but remember, my friend ordered a pack of 6 more, so we have 7 of these total. There's with the propellers on, the dish on. These are a little bit fragile with the verticals because there's not a lot of gluing surface for those, so if you're not careful, those will break off pretty easily. But there's those with the decals, and of course the painted gear legs. And so I did 4 with the wings unfolded, and I did 4 with the wings folded, like so. And again, with these, I just painted everything gray, and then I scraped the paint off from the windshields to make the clear windshields. And these definitely need lead in the front, otherwise they're going to sit back on the tails. So before you glue the halves together, put as much lead in the front of those as you can. And so again, there's those. And then finally, we have the F-18 Super Hornets. These were not part of the kit. He bought a pack of 6 of these. And these went together and decaled pretty well. The only thing I'm not happy about with these is the red on top. It'd be nice if there would have been a decal for that. I mean, the white diamonds are a decal, but the red you had to paint yourself. There's no decal for that. So masking that red and painting it was very tricky. And before I sprayed it, I took some of the red and I painted it onto the decal sheet next to those red decals, and it looked like a really good match. But then when I put the decals on, the decals look lighter than they did on the sheet, which is kind of weird because they're going on gray. I would have thought they would have got darker. So that red is a little bit darker than the rest of the red. Of course, the red on the vertical looks darker than the red on the horizontal, maybe. It might just be my imagination. I was a little concerned about the stripe, the decal that goes around there, but that actually, when you went to put that decal on, it basically just laid right around, kind of like those old slap bracelets. So those actually went on pretty well. They were some of the easier decals to put on, and they were the ones I was worried about the most. But yeah, so there's 6 of these. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the aircraft. I will definitely say, though, when you put the decals on, now keep in mind, I am not claiming to be an expert with decals. I will never claim to be an expert with decals. It seems like they always fight me a little bit, but I will tell you, for all of these, once the decals were put on, I let them dry for a little bit, and then I put some solvent on the decals. And that will, while it's working, the decals will kind of wrinkle up a bit. They look horrible, but then just let it go. Don't touch it, let it dry. And they set down flat. And once that's all dry, they look like they've been painted on. And this also helps them stick. There were a couple of decals that before I got a chance to put this on, I just touched it and it came right off. And that was even after it was dry for an hour. This helps them stick. It helps them lay down flat. It helps them follow the curves and the panel lines a lot better. And then after that's completely dry, then go over the whole thing with your clear coat. And that just helps those decals really, really come out and look nice. So yeah, like I said, I'm very happy with how those came out. Is that going to focus? Kind of focusing. Yeah, anyways, I think I'm going to stop rambling. Like I said, they're probably not technically completely done. I'm sure I could go through and do a little bit of touch up and just kind of nitpicking on each of these. But for now, I'm calling them done. The next video for this project will be the last video. It will be the final paint and touch up on the rest of the actual aircraft carrier itself. I need to paint and install the propellers and add a little bit of like rust wash details around the hull. And I think that's about it. There's not a lot left. So yeah, the last video on this, hopefully in a couple of weeks or less, will be a final build and all the final detailing and just everything done for good. One other thing I'll mention, on these, when you put the propellers in, I would highly recommend to drill out the hole where the propeller goes. This is about a 0.95 millimeter drill. I'm sure 1 millimeter would be fine. This is just what I had. Drill that hole out a little bit so your propellers set in nicely, because otherwise, at least for me, they didn't want to go in very well. Also, where the dish goes on, right down in here, drill those holes out, same size drill bit. Open those holes up too, because I had a hard time getting that setting down flat in there until I did that. So you'll need a little tiny drill bit for those. So yeah, so now I'm going to stop talking. And again, thank you guys for hanging out and watching. And as always, until next time, thanks for watching.